1 homers this season. The Dodgers take 3 or 4 from the Padres to move to 19 games over 500. Former Lakers star Derek Fisher is the new boys basketball coach at Crespi High School in Encino. He coached the New York Knicks for 2 years and the LA Sparks for 3. Dorsey High School's football team will play King Drew at the Coliseum in a city section matchup on October 27th. Rams coach Sean McVay said wide receiver Cooper Kupp will miss the first 2 preseason games. Kupp is recovering from a hamstring injury. The Chargers are expecting their defense to be one of the best in the NFL this season with the addition of former UCLA linebacker Eric Kendrick. Kendrick was an 8-year standout with Minnesota. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Super. Good. Inglewood. Purple rain falling down on the prince of the coast where the sun shines all year round. Purple haze over landscape, still I hydrate in the lunch line with the smog and cloud. Wood, star me out. This song's in the key of life, and love is in need of more. Young from Inglewood, barefoot on the cedar floor. If black music is the blood, then my heart has been beating more. Rapidly, happily, I look back on the Phoenix Shakur. Her son paved the way. Now all eyes on me, cause I'm young, black, and gifted. Now all eyes gon' see. If you swung back when faced with a challenge that's meant to break you and balance scales, you ain't average. Now throw your hands on 3. Go and put them up for black magic. Black excellence, black habits, it's black medicine. Everything black chucks, everything. Everything black hug, black love, everything. Brave like Jesus, play like Moses. Give them flowers while they still give black roses. Everything black child, black pride, everything. Everything black pride.
KBLA Talk 1580, everything.
Here you are, black.
Happy to welcome into the space this morning on a Talking Point Tuesday a man who calls himself a free market economic consultant, president of Knowledge and Decisions Economic Consulting. He was a chief economist to 2 Kansas governors. The American Enterprise Institute called him an emerging poverty scholar. His work has been featured on Bill O'Reilly, the Wall Street Journal, and more. And during the Trump administration, he was appointed as an advisor to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. Michael Austin, welcome.
Well, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you in. Before we jump into this affirmative action, which is I know what you're here to talk to me about, as a black Republican, is there a candidate, a presidential candidate that's appealing to you right now? Are you like, oh, Tim Scott, finally somebody black that, I can relate to, or is it just Trump all day, or is it something that I haven't even thought of yet?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think it's still early enough. I'm still in the wait and see type of mode, but I think I'm just happy that there are so many candidates out there with different flavors, different techniques, different voices, different opinions that, it's kind of like being in front of a buffet line. I'm just happy to be there. I'm just happy to have these many choices in front of me. So with that being said, I'm sorry it's so disappointing, but I'm glad about the options I have in front of me here.
I don't find it disappointing. Most of them are at 1%. So, I mean, it's really Trump, DeSantis, and maybe Scott. Like, everyone else is 1, 2. I think the latest polling, Tim Scott had like 9%, and DeSantis had 17%, and the 45th president had like 54% or something. So, I mean, I know things can change. It is still early, but a jump from 1% to contention is pretty rare.
The primary is kind of tight. You really only have 2 states to really perform in, and that's Iowa and New Hampshire. So when you see these national polls, it doesn't really tell you about what's going on, let's say, in Iowa or in towns in New Hampshire. So I think in part you're kind of right. We'll have to just wait and see. It's kind of a tough hill. But, if anybody can come out in both Iowa and New Hampshire, I think that can set the stage for the entire country.
Yeah, fair points. So I assume that you are happy about the Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action in this country.
I am, simply because I don't like racism. And I see affirmative action as, while well-intentioned, perpetuating racism when we really should be ending it.
Ooh, that's one of my favorite talking points, that remedies for centuries of racial discrimination, being illegal to read, write, and go to school, being locked out of every major institution in this country, that a remedy for hundreds of years of that remedy is racism. Not the racism itself, not the white supremacy itself, but the actual remedy is the racism, in your opinion.
Well, I disagree. I don't think it's remedy at all, and I think you kind of said why. Hundreds of years ago of racism, that has nothing to do with
I didn't say ago. I said hundreds of years of, as continuing now in this moment, with a continuum of hundreds of years. I didn't say hundreds of years ago. I said hundreds of years ago to now.
I understand, but I'm only 30 years old. I don't have the life experience of 100 years of racism, so I can only deal with the racism that I may have experienced here and, of course, as I live this life. And to be frank, that is not 100 or so years, so it's not a remedy. If someone has been aggrieved in the past, by all means, aggrieve that person who has been affected. But me, being about 30-something years old, I have not experienced that type of 100 years of racism, so I don't need this type of remedy, and I don't need anyone taking away my freedom to give it to somebody else.
So are you saying to me that you don't feel that what your ancestors did or what happened to them impacts you in any way?
No, that's not what I said at all.
It kind of is, though.
What I've said is that the racism of the past has no bearing on the decisions that I make today or the life that I choose to live today.
But it's impacting the life that you're able to live today, the options that you have today. And it's not just in the past, it's occurring as we speak. So what you're saying is let me be clear. Let me be clear. You're saying that the 30 years that you've had of life on this planet is the only thing that you are addressing in your walk. You don't account for anything else.
I'm saying it's the only thing I can control. As a Christian, I have to believe that I can't affect the world around me. The only thing that I can control, right, are my own actions.
But that Bible is old. Why would you read that? That Bible is hundreds of years old. Why would you read that?
Because it speaks to a truth that transcends time. And that truth is, of course, that you can only control your own actions, and you have to leave the Lord to deal with anything else that you can't control. And so my point being here, right, is that I have the power to, let's say, get a proper education, get a job, make certain life choices that can make my life well off. And that can happen regardless of what happened to my grandfather or my great-grandfather or my great-great-grandfather. If you want to, restore any injustice that happened to my ancestors, by all means, go find those ancestors and make things right. But when it comes to me, the best thing that you can do for me is giving me the freedom and the opportunity to choose, how I want to live my life.
Well, freedom includes erasing racism, doesn't it? How can you be free if you don't have the same mobility and access as others. Sure, miracles happen every day. I can be born, with no legs and win the Olympics. All kinds of things can happen. I can have hundreds of years of oppression and still rise to the highest. I mean, Black people are amazing. We continue to thrive. I don't argue that, but it's not freedom if you don't have the same rights and access as other people, is it?
Well, here's the thing. I think you're confusing freedom with equity. You can't make everybody equal. You can't. Human beings are unique and different from each and every one of us.
No, I'm not confusing anything. I think that when you talk about equity, you have to have equal agency.
Let me finish the thought here. So the argument is simply that you can't give freedom by taking it away from somebody else. And so when it comes to affirmative action, what they're effectively doing, they're taking away opportunities of, let's say, those who are academically able and willing to, let's say, perform at a top-notch school, and they're giving it to somebody who is not. That is not equal access.
That's also not a fact. That's absolutely not a fact. Because what makes you qualified is based on subjective criteria. That's so you're saying, if I did this with one hand tied behind my back and this person did this with two hands and three other people helping them, we should also have the same access. In other words, I'm taking an opportunity away from this guy who had two hands and three people helping them, even though I almost caught them with one hand tied behind my back. That's illogical, what you're saying, because your criteria of what is taking something away from someone else does not include the built-in advantage that someone else has due to 12 generations of our people working without pay, due to us being the only group of people who it's ever been illegal to educate in this country.
That example, I'm sorry, was pretty confusing. We are here today.
Sorry if I confused you.
Because
well, you need to do some more reading then. Because if you think that a person competing...
Ma'am, I can't...
Well, you said you were confused by what I said, so I was trying to clarify.
I gotta make my point.
So you weren't confused. Okay,
we're here today. We're here today because Harvard University decided not to look at objective standards. It is objective. It is not subjective. If you want to go to a top-notch school, you have to be academically prepared to deal with that rigor.
Absolutely, you do.
Prepared to deal with your professors, your students, the entire environment. And what we're looking at here is that we're here today because Harvard University and the University of North Carolina decided to push aside those students that were academically ready and gave enrollment, right, to individuals and students who were not prepared, and it actually hurts them.
But so clearly you are confused by my example, because what you're saying is that a person who has had extra help to get to where they are should have the same should have that advantage. It's like if I got to take 2 hours to take a test and you got 1 hour to take that test, and then you're expected to compete with me and have the same score. And if you don't, then I'm going to say you're not prepared. It is exactly it, because you're expecting
your example.
Go ahead.
You're saying that because of the color of one's skin, this person deserves an A. That's
no, that's not what I'm saying.
No,
I never said that.
That's what you're saying, because that's exactly what's happening.
Okay, I'm glad you are in my brain. That has never happened in this country. We have been shut out of the most elite institutions by law and continue to have inferior schools, and yet we are at the table competing, even with one hand tied behind our back. And you're saying that if I made it there with one hand tied behind my back, I'm taking away an opportunity from a guy that had two hands and got there a little quicker. That's not logical. That measurement of what equal competition is, it conveniently leaves out the entire history of white supremacy.
If your SAT doesn't reach the standard of being in that school, you should not go to that school. Do you want to call that having your hand behind that back? It really does not matter, because.
All right. So Clarence Thomas should definitely not be in the. So you definitely don't think Clarence Thomas should be in the Supreme Court?
Clarence Thomas has shown that he is academically prepared not only for the institutions that he
but he was a victim of affirmative action. Some poor, white person sacrificed their place because he had affirmative action, according to your theory. So why support him? He should go sit down.
What evidence do you have of that?
His own admission that he was a beneficiary of affirmative action. I take his word for it. You're right. Maybe I shouldn't because, maybe he's not being truthful, but that's my source. We'll continue this fascinating conversation with Michael Austin. Of course, we'll talk about what he thinks should happen instead of affirmative action, if anything, when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go, shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit NoTimeToWait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way. Offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The biannual blowout is just a week away, and we've got a lot of work to do.
Keenan's Rug Emporium is rolling out a Labor Day bonanza.
Have that flatweed shipment coming in.
He needs 10 new sales associates as the crowds loom large.
Someone run a stock check on all the Moroccan 8x10?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. I gotta try that for Bree's car. Just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. It's up 40 days of consistency. All over Bree's car, place right on your face. My car's my happy place. Keep a smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. Breathe happy for Breeze. La 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 la.
Extreme heat increases your risk of heat illness and death. Warning signs of heat exhaustion include muscle cramps, headache, and nausea. Signs of heat stroke include a fever of 103 or higher, confusion, and loss of consciousness. Protect yourself by limiting time spent outdoors, staying hydrated, and staying cool in air-conditioned spaces. Learn how to stay safer from extreme heat at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
AutoZone is more than a parts store. It's where we help you solve problems like, sorry I'm late, my battery died, and
I need a jump again.
At America's #1 battery destination, you can find the right battery at the right price with options starting at only $89.99. And we offer free battery testing and charging whenever you need it. Get the parts and help you need to get the job done right at AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
The conversation continues right now with Dominic DePrima on First Things First.
I'm talking with Michael Austin. He served as a chief economist to 2 Kansas governors, and during the Trump administration, he was appointed as an advisor to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, a graduate of Washburn University School of Business, and got a master's in economics from the University of Kansas. Michael Austin, you've made it very clear you don't believe in affirmative action. You call it racism, which I think is a really popular talking point these days. What do you think ought to replace it, if anything?
Thank you very much for having me back on. Just to get back a little bit to our conversation about Justice Clarence Thomas, you had claimed that he had mentioned he was a benefit of affirmative action. That's actually not true. This was actually pushed by a Joe Biden advisor as well as PBS. Clarence Thomas has never actually said that. So I just want to make sure we clarify that.
No, that's actually not true. It's in the Washington Post. It's on ABC. So your sources are incorrect.
What we can actually move forward in saying about what we could do to replace it, I think what we've been doing, for the past 50 or 60 years, providing more freedom to African Americans, to people of all genders, to women, that's how you beat racism, not instituting one government program to try to solve another.
So how do you do it
program.
specifically? How do you do it?
Well, you provide more freedom. In other words, you let the racists feel the consequences of their types of policies. A really good example could be back in the 60s, as you know, let's say in the NFL. The NFL had integrated, I believe, in the late 1940s, but there was a NFL owner, I believe, of the Washington Redskins, who refused to hire, refused to sign any black players,
Washington
right?
Commanders.
And it only took...
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You still want to use the racial slur.
Yeah,
we got rid of that.
I'm just sticking to the facts. It's okay. We'll stick to the facts here.
Well, the fact is they're not called the Redskins anymore.
It's
racist.
It only took 20 or so years or so for him to finally sign black players. And why was it? It wasn't due to any government program. It was because he lost games. Because he wanted to be racist and decided not to pick the best players out of the signing class.
So what you're saying is that we're a meritocracy? Is that what you're saying? You're saying America's a meritocracy?
What I'm saying is that we should do our best to promote merit as much and as often as we can, and let those racists deal with the consequences.
But if we were truly a meritocracy, black people would be running everything. If we were truly a meritocracy, we'd be running most everything. It's not a meritocracy. That's the whole point. Give me what is your evidence that?
I don't understand where that comes from.
Well, do you hate black people?
No. Where did that come from?
Because it sounds like you do. I just want to be clear on that.
Well, I'm sure you make a lot of different claims. It doesn't make it true.
No, it's not a claim. It was a question. It was a question.
And so I asked, where did that come from? And
it comes from the fact. No, I give you a lot. No, it's not how I feel. It's that every single position that you've taken since you got on the microphone this morning has been profoundly anti-black. So I don't know if it's coming from your pure political analysis or if you just don't like black people. That's all.
Oh, well, that
it
sounds
was
like an ad hominem when I gave you the facts. Well, it
no,
sounds like a question that's not based on
what was the fact that you gave me? The fact you said that we need to let the racists feel the burn.
Now instead of talking about merits.
No.
Now instead of talking about the merits, you want to impugn my character.
Hold on a second. I'm not impugning your character. I'm just asking you questions. So what evidence do you have that this country is a meritocracy? That black people have just the same opportunity if they have the same talent as any other person in this country? Give me evidence of that. Other than the NFL being taken over by black people, and there's still no black coaches, by the way. Or two, whatever.
What do you mean there are no black coaches?
Not in proportion to the number of black people. Not in proportion to the number of black people that are in the league. Not in proportion to the number of black people that the money that black people bring into the league. But yeah, okay, sorry. Go ahead and answer the question about.
Okay. So,
give me evidence of meritocracy. Evidence of the United States
piece of evidence, but now that wasn't good enough, so I have to give you another piece
of
evidence.
The NFL was your evidence that the United States is a meritocracy? That was your evidence?
Yes. Is there a problem with giving you one piece of evidence that you asked for? Would you like another?
Yes, please.
Okay, how about this fact? If you want to look at the improvement of African Americans, let's say after the Civil War, right after, African Americans experienced the most racism, black Americans actually saw their income grow faster, right, than the average family in America. Why is that?
Because we were enslaved and we didn't have any income, so your income grows 100% when you go from slavery to something. I mean, that's a terrible point. I'm sorry. That's your evidence that it's a meritocracy.
You had higher income. How about the fact that they also had higher income than the average Americans?
You mean when remedies were being applied through Reconstruction, which were later rescinded by people who think like you, even though you're going to say Republicans, because Republicans back then were not the racist party that they are today.
That was a long-winded word vomit, but let me get back to the point.
That's a good point.
The point is
So you don't want to go hundreds of years back when it comes to racism, but when you want to go to solutions or some kind of proof, you want to go back hundreds of years. Got it. So explain to me. I'm not understanding what you're saying here. So try again.
Well, maybe you should let me talk. Let me talk first, and then maybe you can understand.
I know you're used to talking over women, but
hey. hey, look at what you're doing.
You were mansplaining up a storm. You said, so you can understand. Okay, go ahead.
You asked me a question, but
here's the thing: is no, it's not that I don't want your answers. You don't get to disrespect me, and just because I don't agree with you does not mean I don't understand. It just means I don't agree with you. Go ahead.
Then you gotta let me talk. You gonna let me talk this time, or are you gonna interrupt me?
Maybe both.
Okay, well, I appreciate the honesty. The point is that after the Civil War, where racism, you could definitely argue, was at its worst, right? African Americans had higher income and higher growth simply for the fact that they were free. And that's the exact point. It didn't take a government program.
Okay,
right? What it
so
took
what's
was
your
government
definition of
getting
freedom?
out of the way.
What's your definition of freedom for black people?
Having government take a step back so that people are free to do what they decide to do best. It's really straightforward, and it's not about instituting a program that takes something from somebody else and gives it to another.
So no more corporate subsidies.
Corporate subsidies for what?
For anybody. You're saying the government, for us to be free, the government has to take a step back.
Fine.
No corporate subsidies.
No need to women's explain. No need to women's explain. Go ahead. Corporate subsidies, yeah, they can go.
Well, you asked me about what? Okay, so all corporations are now going to pay their fair share of taxes. You're fine with that?
They already do.
Okay. And all billionaires are going to pay their fair share of taxes. You're fine with that?
They already do.
Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk have both paid zero taxes in multiple years. That's enough? That's fine?
They're following the tax law. That's why they hire a whole corporation or a whole building full of attorneys, is to follow the tax law and pay as little taxes as possible.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's the goal for everybody, not to pay much in taxes.
Yeah, but they use more of the commons, so you would think that they might want to reinvest in their country.
They use more of the what?
The commons. The roads, the water.
Oh, they do reinvest in the country. Do you know how many people they hire? I mean, do you know how many businesses they work with in order to provide their services?
Thank you, Mr. Reagan.
That's not trickle down. That's just that's basically
it's the old job creator talking point. I don't have to pay for anything because you laboring to create my wealth is my contribution to you. Got it. And so you're saying that no subsidies, no. Including, obviously, legacy. I'm sure you don't agree with legacy scholarships. Legacy.
No, I kind of want. I'd like to stick on merit.
So no legacy admittance, right?
Yeah, I'd like to stick on merit.
Okay.
That's correct. I have an issue with that as well.
Is a sports admission, is that on merit or no?
Is sport admissions?
Yeah, because that's a piece of the legacy thing is people are recruited to play football or tennis or whatever it is, and they may not have the same scores as others, but they work really hard to be athletes. Is that merit?
If you work really hard to be an athlete, that in and of itself is a merit.
So we should keep the athletic admissions in that sense.
Yeah, I mean it's no different than being good at math or no different than being good at singing or the arts.
But what about being good
that is something that you have to work and compete in.
Right, but if you survive white supremacy, that's being good at a thing. You survive white supremacy to be able to apply to Harvard and be in a competitive position. That takes a kind of skill.
What does that mean to survive white supremacy? What does that mean?
What does it mean? It means to get past all of the racist roadblocks designed to keep you out, exclude you, as we have historically been, and still be knocking at the door like this. Harvard, let me in. UC Berkeley, let me in.
What is that? Is that doing well on an SAT? Is that scoring a number of shots in a basketball hoop? I mean, what is getting past roadblocks of white supremacy?
It's apparently what you and I have done to be able to thrive in our chosen careers, in which you, like our current Supreme Court Justice, Mr. Thomas, don't want to help others do. That's interesting. Michael, Austin, thank you for joining me today.
It was an absolute pleasure. I learned a lot.
And I did too. That's a good thing. Maybe you'll come back again. Time for news, traffic, and sports right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome to a Tuesday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The 28-year-old New York dancer who was fatally stabbed in Brooklyn will be laid to rest today in his hometown of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. African-American O'Shea Sibley was dancing with his friends on July 29th when he was stabbed to death following a confrontation at a gas station. Cops say it was a hate-motivated crime because Sibley was gay. The Red Cross is implementing the FDA's updated guidance on allowing men who have sex with men to donate blood. The American Red Cross says it's welcoming more donors and getting rid of restrictions based on sexual orientation. The FDA issued the new guidance in May recommending individual risk-based questions for anyone donating blood regardless of their gender, sex, or sexual orientation. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Fall into autumn hiring with Indeed. Their all-in-one solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers put up 13 runs in San Diego on Monday. Mookie Betts hit a grand slam. He now has 31 homers this season. The Dodgers take 3 or 4 from the Padres to move to 19 games over 500. Former Lakers star Derek Fisher is the new boys basketball coach at Crespi High School in Encino. He coached the New York Knicks for 2 years and the LA Sparks for 3. Dorsey High School's football team will play King Drew at the Coliseum in a city section matchup on October 27th. Rams coach Sean McVay said wide receiver Cooper Kupp will miss the first 2 preseason games. Kupp is recovering from a hamstring injury. The Chargers are expecting their defense to be one of the best in the NFL this season with the addition of former UCLA linebacker Eric Kendrick. Kendrick was an 8-year standout with Minnesota. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Need help with the job hunt? It can be challenging, but don't worry. LA County has your back. With a variety of available support services, you'll get the help you need while finding a job. We're here to help you succeed. Let's get started. Find out if you qualify at recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. That's recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. LA County and you, moving forward together.
I'm David Goldberg, a bilingual elementary school teacher and president of the California Teachers Association. As we start a new school year, there's something new happening in California's public schools. They're called community schools, where families, students, educators, and communities are making decisions as one.
As a parent, I feel like we're really valued as partners in the education system.
Community schools are bridging the systems of academics with the community.
The curriculum is designed around the students and their academic needs.
I know community schools are working. We see it in parent involvement. We see it in student academics.
We saw double-digit gains in math, English, and reading scores.
It's a more innovative, holistic approach to educating students.
I really feel like this is the first time that we're really seeing system change in our school.
It's innovative, fresh,
and they're already working.
We invite you to learn more about community schools as we come together to reimagine public education here in California. And that's why CTA brought you this message.
Don't miss the final days of end-of-season deals during the truckload event at Lowe's. Right now, save on major appliances and get an additional 10% off in-store clearance appliances. Plus, take up to 25% off select storage totes like the Project Source Commander tote. Just $11.98 was $15.98. Find big savings now. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 8/9. Exclusions apply. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details.
Get in the zone. AutoZone.
AutoZone is more than a parts store. It's where we help you solve problems like, sorry I'm late, my battery died, and
I need a jump. Again.
At America's #1 battery destination, you can find the right battery at the right price with options starting at only $89.99. And we offer free battery testing and charging whenever you need it. Get the parts and help you need to get the job done right at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Wow, it's Stockholm Syndrome Day. KBLA Talk 1580. That talking point is like, that talking point, I don't know if any of you have ever read the book 1984 by George Orwell. That talking point is straight out of Orwell, right? Yeah. Affirmative action is racism. The remedy is the disease. The medicine is the illness. That's the translation of that talking point. The ability to translate talking points, the ability to read between the lines, the ability to see, to follow the money. I mean, I guess he had me an advisor to the Trump Civil Rights Commission. Now, for those of you who like to say there's no difference between Republicans and Democrats, that guy is their black guy. That guy is the black guy that's advising them on the Civil Rights Commission of the Trump administration. And I guarantee you he ain't putting up no monuments to Emmett Till or making Juneteenth a holiday. Not to say those are the best things in the world, but they're, well, actually, I'm pretty happy about the Emmett Till monument. I mean, and Juneteenth for that matter. I just need other things too, like reparations, at least a study, et cetera, et cetera. That guy ain't supporting no Ketanji Brown Jackson, no matter how qualified she is. And will deny something that Clarence Thomas himself has admitted, that joker benefited from affirmative action. And if he was the only one, I'd be for shutting it down too. The thing about it is, the medicine cannot be the illness. The remedy cannot be the malady. That has to be a talking point. And that is the thing that the GOP shines at. You know, good is bad and bad is good. And, you know, that is what we have to become more and more media literate, right? To get around, to get not just around for ourselves, but to get around. Because, I mean, one of the things about Project 21, and we've had a lot of those folks on, they're on every other Tuesday. I'm not trying to slay the most egregious talking points every week, but every other Tuesday, is that it is very much black people committed to an anti-black agenda. Fred from Crenshaw, you have the mic. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Dominique. Thanks for taking my call, sister. Anyway, we have really got to be careful in the 2024 election. There is no way in the world I want to see Donald Trump up there for another 4 years. And I think as we get into the election later in 2024, it's probably going to be a fight between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Now, I don't know if you heard, Donald Trump said he may not come to the first debate. All the stuff that he's done, if you're not done that, we will be burned in jail. They need to have a law on the books that nobody that's been convicted of an indictment should be serving as president of the United States. Now, all of a sudden, Mike Pence and DeSantis are saying that the election was stolen, and he said that if you come after me, I'll come after you. It's just stupidity. So my best choice, I think, for mine, I'm going to get behind my man Joe Biden for presidency for another 4 years. I'll take my comments off the air. Take care. God bless. Keep doing what you're doing, Sister Dominique.
Yes, thank you, Fred. Okay, so you think a felon shouldn't be president? I don't know if I want to sign off on that, because I know some felons that would make good presidents. They're just not he who shall not be named. They're people from the neighborhood. I mean, you know what I mean? But your point is well taken in the fact that how many felonies can you have? And this guy, I mean, innocent until proven guilty, right? But he's been proven guilty in the civil case. And I love that a judge now said that they threw out the defamation case. The former President Trump had filed a defamation case against E. Jean Carroll because after the jury found that he was not guilty of the count of rape, even though he was guilty of sexually assaulting her, she still went around saying she was raped, and so Trump sued her, and the judge said no, because essentially, factually, she was raped. Just because the New York law narrowly defines rape as penetration, right? You have to be penetrated by the man's sex organ. That is the narrow definition of rape in New York, and so the jury had to find not guilty on that count. The judge said, all of us know when you penetrate someone with your fingers or violate them sexually in that way, it is considered rape, in the common discourse, even if the state of New York defines it narrowly. So that means she can keep going around saying he raped her, because we all know that when someone puts their fingers where they don't belong inside of you, that is rape. But that's not how the state of New York defines it. Anyway, I digress. I say that to say how many felonies, how many convictions, and specifically, shouldn't he be registered as a sexual predator? I'm just saying. 800-920-1580. It seems to me, that at this point, but that wasn't a criminal conviction, so I guess that's why no. What about that riverboat brawl? Are people who are they celebrating violence? I think they're celebrating unity. What about that Michael Austin? What about that talking point? Affirmative action is racism. Let's go to Fahima calling us from Washington, D.C.
Barry, Johnny, MK, Papa, Dominique. First, I want to thank you so much for allowing those of us here on the East Coast to be able to participate and observe the wonderful tribute your family did to your mother, the Diana DePrimo.
Thank you.
Now, a couple of things. First off, I've had observations of Project 21. When I was a student at Howard, I saw how they recruited the best and the brightest, and they controlled them. And I am convinced these people are lobotomized. They are so far in. They've been thrusted so far into the sunken place that they have Stockholm syndrome. Now, it's just so disconcerting. Let me just say this. Clarence Thomas has even written that he felt inferior because he was a recipient of affirmative action. So apparently these people only know what they're told. Clarence Thomas has written about being a recipient of affirmative action. In fact, he said he put a stamp on his diploma because he felt it was worthless, because he was concerned about how other people felt. Now, I just want to briefly share this. When they're using affirmative action, these students, these black and brown students that get into these universities, they have to be qualified. They would not have made the cut. They're not putting people who don't have the grades to and admitting them. It's simply a scoring system, just like they give people a few points for legacy. They'll give them a few points if they're giving them a few points. You're just getting a few points for diversity. You're getting a few points. They're not saying, okay, we're going to let this person in. And so he has no idea how this situation works. And lastly, the show of solidarity in Alabama will live on for infamy. The memes, the people have reenacted. There were even some white folks who did lives who said that those folks got what they deserved.
Yeah, I saw those.
I mean, it's going to live on in infamy, and I just thought it was hysterical to put that chair. You know, a black man actually did invent the folding chair.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
So they should put it in the Smithsonian African American Museum. But anyway, I'm going to get off Dominique. And again, thank you so much for allowing those of us that are here in other places to observe the wonderful tribute to your mom.
Thank you. Thank you for observing it. If anyone else wants to see it, it's on Facebook at Diane DePrima Park. And if you're there, if you want to join, we're planning some other things, and we'll keep you informed. And, of course, you'll find them on KBLA 1580 on all our social media, Twitter, Instagram, we're KBLA 1580. And you'll find them at DePrima Radio, which is my spot, DIPRIMA, and then radio. We are continuing this lively conversation on a Talking Point Tuesday only on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
On a Mission Youth Travel presents the 2023 Morehouse Homecoming HBCU College Tour, October 25th through October 29th in Atlanta, Georgia. Open to high school students grades 9 through 12. For more information, please call 323-298-4779. Again, 323-298-4779. Students will tour Morehouse College, Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University, Alabama State, and Tuskegee University. Email info@onamissionyouthtravel.com. Again, info@onamissionyouthtravel.com. The HBCU tour price includes all meals, transportation, round-trip airfare with one checked bag, hotel accommodation, all museums, college tours, and admission to the Morehouse versus Kentucky State University homecoming football game. Spaces are filling up quickly, so call today to sign up. 323-298-4779. Again, 323-298-4779. Have you heard about Lendistry? Lendistry is a national black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Whether financing is needed to increase working capital, acquire a business, purchase inventory and equipment, or refinance debt, Lendistry has a solution for you. Lending products range from traditional business term loans and non-revolving lines of credit to SBA 7A loans and commercial real estate financing. Lendistry's free application process is simple and does not impact your credit score. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more and to get started with an application right from the website.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Hey, comedian Del Harrison is coming up next hour. She's very, very funny, but also we don't agree on much politically, so it should be a really fun morning around here. Right now, I want to go back to the phones while we still have time. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. So, I mean, I agree with you, Fahima. I have been looking up. Yes, I knew that Clarence Thomas went to Yale and that he did receive affirmative action. And it's verified. Let's see, Richmond Free Press, ABC, Newsweek, Washington Post. Reliable sources, say I. And apparently he evolved his thinking and later came to reject affirmative action. They called him names for being black and assumed he was there because of affirmative action, which he was, but he didn't like that. So now he's turned against it. It was hard for him, so he doesn't want to offer it to you. Let's go to Deb from the city of Compton. Deb?
Good morning.
Good morning, Dominique.
Jumbo, I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I don't want to sound condescending, but I think it's wonderful. I'm proud of what you're doing for your mom to honor her. I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. That doesn't sound condescending. It sounds supportive, and I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so your guest this morning had my hair on fire.
Sorry.
So it's a good thing. So my quick point, we need to pay attention. And thank you again for doing this, for using your platform, because we got to snatch the hoods off and we need to know who's out here. So thank you for that. He said a few things and I wrote them down. That's how engaged I was. Okay, so we have the talk with our children. The talk. We all know what the talk is. When you're out, do this, be careful, watch who you're with, check your surroundings. They have the talking points. They grow up with those talking points. That's what they're fed.
You're right.
That's why they can list everything as if they've been taught that. They've been programmed. Everything you said to him, he had a response that we all know is not true. And we've all heard it before because that's what they've been taught. Okay, next thing. You know why the athletic merit is okay with him? Because, first of all, we know who the majority of the finest, most talented athletes are in this country. And guess what? They generate millions for those colleges. So, yes, he loves the merit of the athlete. Of course he does. And taxes on the poor, taxes on the rich, we know how that tax works out. I told you before, I'm offended. I don't even look at my check stub anymore because it's offensive. He could not hear, my last one, he could not hear your analogy, I could still win with one hand behind my back while you have both hands available and 6 people helping you out. He couldn't understand that because we've been told, and we all know and experience, we have to work 3 times as hard based on the most mediocre of them can just walk right in and take it. We would have every credential, and I know because I sit in that seat.
Wow.
You could have every credential. You could have the best references from any top surgeon, chief of staff, whomever. I'm just using my occupation. And if they want to bring somebody in who they feel, oh no, but she's a little better, and she doesn't have to be better, and she doesn't have to work as hard, well, there you have it. So that's what I have to say, and boy, my hat's off to you.
Thank you, Deb. I appreciate you going point by point like that and really breaking it down because, I rely on you guys on this Talking Point Tuesday to get anything I might have missed and bring it on home to your own experience. Deb called at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. You are invited to do the same. I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you and the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take. And when I left the Evanon, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan. Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, I am Jasmine Carson, LSU Women's Basketball National Champion. I had to up my game, and this time I upped my intimate grooming routine too. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area. Featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and a skincare regimen that is dermatologist tested, Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about the full regimen of products.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio, KBLA Talk 1580.
It is, and I so appreciate you, 800-920-1580. A small palate refresher here. Former Minneapolis police officer Tao, I never know how to say his name right, Tao Tu, has got now another 5 years, through 4 3/4 years, concurrently added on to his prison sentence for aiding and abetting manslaughter in the murder of George Floyd. That sentence handed down Monday, and it was actually more than what the Minnesota Attorney General had been asking for. Attorney General Keith Ellison asked for 4 1/4 years. They gave him 4 3/4 of a year, and the judge said, back to what I started off the show with today, the judge said he was hoping for more remorse, regret, and acknowledgement of responsibility. So a judge in Tory Lane's case says a guy has a right to maintain his innocence. This judge says he wanted more regret and responsibility after conviction. The prosecutors and Ridley Thomas saying they want the judge to throw the book at him because he has not shown remorse, but he has maintained his innocence, which is one of the things they say when people's cases are overturned. He maintained his innocence for years as proof that they were actually innocent. Make it make sense. Howard from Watts, it's you. What's up?
How you doing? Thanks for taking my call. Make it short. Swift. I would like to say my generation was a generation that took advantage of affirmative action. I think we did quite well. I just keep it short. You know what James Brown said? He said, "I want nobody to give me nothing. Just open the door and I get it myself." Thank you.
You're right, but the door has to be open.
Right. That's what he said. Open the door.
Yeah, and I'll get it myself. So, and that's the thing. To say that affirmative action is racism is a lie, because the disease is not the medicine. The cure is not the illness. And that's a great analogy, Howard, because the door has been closed to us. And in many times remains closed to us. You don't have to go back hundreds of years. Just open the door. I'll get it myself. Yeah. Good God. you could tell I was a James Brown stalker as a child. For some reason, I was obsessed with James Brown.
I was too. I saw him live back in the day, and he still impressed me as an entertainer. I set my standards by what he did that night.
Yeah, good God, yo. I used to go see him when I was a little kid. I was getting my mom or somebody take me to go see James Brown. Yeah, the throwing of the cape, those splits, and all that.
You go to a show, when at the end of you just go to the cape, you get the impression he didn't want to go home. You say, do you have a home? Got the impression, we all got to get up out of here, but he wasn't staying.
Open up the door. I'll get it myself. Yes, indeed. I agree. Great theme song, Howard, for this conversation. And, I think the reason I was obsessed with James Brown was because his command of the stage, his command of the audience. Like, he was a master performer. And I always wanted to be that, no matter what I was doing, even if I wasn't doing splits on the floor and singing funky music. All right, news, traffic, and sports, and then Del Harrison in the studio on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Welcome to a Tuesday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. He was stabbed to death following a confrontation at a gas station. Cops say it was a hate